The day my wife left me, she didn't cry, argue, or even hesitate. She quietly packed her suitcase, placed her wedding ring on the kitchen table, and looked at me with eyes that no longer held love. "I can't keep living like this," she said. "I want a better life." Before I could find the right words, she walked out the door and disappeared. We had been married for 6 years. We didn't own a big house or expensive cars, but we had each other. At least, I believed we did. I worked long hours as a mechanic while she worked in a clothing boutique. Every paycheck went toward rent, bills, and the future we dreamed of building together. I thought love was enough to survive difficult times. She believed happiness could only come with money. A month later, I learned she had married a wealthy businessman who was almost 20 years older than her. Social media was filled with photos of luxury vacations, expensive jewelry, and glamorous parties. Everyone in town admired her new life. Every picture felt like another reminder that I had failed as a husband. For months, I blamed myself. I worked harder than ever, but every night I returned to an empty apartment that reminded me of everything I had lost. Friends encouraged me to move on, but it wasn't easy. One evening, after staring at our old wedding photo for what felt like hours, I finally made a decision. I couldn't change the past, but I could change my future. I threw the photograph into a drawer, opened my laptop, and began taking online business courses. During the day, I repaired cars. At night, I studied until I could barely keep my eyes open. I saved every dollar I earned and refused to waste money. 2 years later, I rented a small garage and opened my own repair shop. The beginning was harder than I expected. Some days, no customers came. Bills piled up, equipment broke down, and there were moments when I wanted to quit. But every failure taught me something new. I treated every customer with honesty, charged fair prices, and worked harder than anyone else. Slowly, people started recommending my shop. Business grew month after month until I hired my first employee. A year later, I opened a second location, and then a third. 5 years after my divorce, my company had become one of the most trusted auto repair businesses in the city. I finally bought a beautiful home and a comfortable life, but the greatest reward wasn't money. It was the peace I had found within myself. One rainy evening, while reading in my living room, someone knocked on my front door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, I froze. Standing in front of me was my ex-wife. She looked nothing like the confident woman who had walked away years earlier. Her expensive clothes were gone. Her face looked tired, and her eyes carried sadness I had never seen before. She quietly asked, "Can we talk?" I hesitated for a moment before inviting her inside. We sat across from each other in silence. Finally, she took a deep breath and began telling me what had happened. The wealthy businessman she married had seemed perfect in public, but behind closed doors he was controlling, dishonest, and cruel. He constantly criticized her, cheated on her with other women, and treated her more like a possession than a partner. After 4 years of marriage, he divorced her for someone younger. Because of the legal agreement she had signed before the wedding, she left with almost nothing. The luxurious life she had chosen disappeared overnight. Tears rolled down her face as she whispered, "I thought money would make me happy. Instead, it cost me everything." I listened quietly. Surprisingly, I didn't feel anger. The pain she had caused me years ago had already healed. Time had replaced bitterness with understanding. She looked around my house, smiled sadly, and said, "You built the life we always dreamed about." Then she looked directly into my eyes and asked, "Is there any chance we could start over?" For a moment, memories filled my mind. I remembered our wedding day, our first apartment, and the promises we had once made to each other. Years ago, I would have done anything to hear those words, but I wasn't the same man anymore. I smiled gently and replied, "I forgive you." Her eyes immediately filled with hope. Before she could speak again, I continued, "But forgiveness doesn't erase the past, and it doesn't always mean a second chance." I spent years rebuilding not only my business, but also my confidence and self-respect. I can't go back to someone who only saw my value after I became successful. She lowered her head, whispered, "I'm sorry," and quietly walked away into the rain. As I closed the door, I realized that sometimes losing the wrong person is the greatest blessing life can give.